I think straight off the bat, I can say that it is one of the best adaptations of an 80s nostalgia cartoon that I have ever seen. I went into it with mixed feelings, but came out of it absolutely beaming, absolutely smiling, and absolutely buzzing. It was that good. If you haven't already gone and see it, I really, really advise you go out and see it in the cinemas, because it is a masterpiece of something that is translated from the TV show that we watched as a kid into a live action film that actually works. I'll try not to touch on any spoilers here, but if there are any spoilers, I'll give you the countdown warning before. But what I'm going to do is just run through the storyline, the characters, some of the criticisms that people have had online, and also some of my thoughts about what they could do for the inevitable sequel. So first of all, the storyline. The storyline is actually really basic. It does deviate in lots of different ways from what we saw in the cartoon and related material from the 80s, but I think it does it in such a way that lends itself to, dare I say it, the modern audience. The storyline, again, no spoilers, is young Adam is sent to Earth after an attack by Skeletor. He's sent to Earth with the power sword. He grows up on Earth, he loses the power sword, he has to get the power sword back, he's transported to Eternia, and then it's his character's journey as he becomes He-Man and basically saves the day and saves Eternia from the evil of Skeletor. That's essentially it. It replicates the cartoon quite well in a very loose, very kind of run-of-the-mill story. But for the story they're trying to tell, that structure works really well. You've got a really nice character arc for Adam and his progression from, I'm going to say weak childhood, but certainly his downtrodden childhood as the Prince of Eternia, all the way through to finding out who he really is, to finding out the powers that he has, and for reconciling the past, and for ultimately defeating Skeletor. There's some nice subplots and sub-character journeys for Tila and for Man-at-Arms, and arguably for Skeletor as well. There's a number of subplots that work very well in this concept of the character journey, and I thought that was done really good for what you were seeing on screen. Character-wise, they've replicated the characters really well from the toy line and the TV show. So who have we got? We've got obviously Prince Adam, He-Man, Tila, Man-at-Arms, Fisto, Mossman, Ram-Man, Mechanic. Bad guys, we've got Skeletor, Evil Lyn, Triclops, Spider, Goatman. Did Goatman ever have an action figure? I don't think he did. He was in the cartoon, but did he ever have an action figure? Anyway, that's a side point. Karg from the original Master of the Universe movie. I forgot Trapjaw. How can you forget Trapjaw? Trapjaw had a big part to play in this whole film, actually, to be fair. He was less of a bungling sidekick like Beastman, who I also forgot. I'm getting really excited. I'm just running away with myself. So they have a plethora of interesting characters that we've seen from the cartoon, and they're all really faithfully represented and visually faithfully represented. You can immediately spot exactly who they are. This film is quite a polarizing film for fandom. Some people really love it, like me. Other people really hate it. And they seem to really hate it because A, they think it's woke, and B, that they think the humour is too much. The first one, I'll tackle that one first. Is it too woke? No. I can understand why people are critical of it to a certain extent, because they want to go in and see the masculine, He-Man saves the day kind of thing. But what they fail to realise is that is a, 20-minute cartoon from the 80s with little backstory for non-fan audiences. That has a very simple stepping on, stepping off point, and that's it. To kind of replicate that in this kind of movie format in this day and age doesn't work to start with. I think they also have the criticism that in the part where Adam is rescued from planet Earth after he finds the power sword, that's not spoilers, Tila basically saves the day. And I think that's fine, because at that point, Adam is, for all intents and purposes, a human being on Earth. He doesn't know he has superpowers. He doesn't know he is the Prince of Eternia. Kind of does, but he doesn't really know if it's a dream or not. Tila has to save him because she's the one that's grown up as a warrior, and he's fighting Beastman on a highway in America. He has no combat skills. He has a sword, but he doesn't know how to use it. So she has to save him. The criticism that, oh, a woman saved him, it's bait and switch, blah, 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 is not true. And I think the reason why people are more sensitive to that is obviously the Masters of the Universe cartoon that was on Netflix a couple of years ago was a genuine bait and switch, where they took out He-Man, Prince Adam, and made Tila the main character. And that was genuinely a bait and switch kind of affair. But this one wasn't, because this is the journey that Prince Adam was on, and Tila had to save him in order to get him back to Eternia, to ultimately get him to a point where he becomes He-Man. And there's also this kind of criticism over the messaging of the film, where it is essentially He-Man having, well, Prince Adam, I should say, having Adam worked in HR in a quite a comedy way, but he uses the skills he's learned in conflict resolution within an HR environment to kind of create this kind of group hug mentality amongst A, the good guys, and B, the conversations he has with Trapjaw, with Skeletor. And I think people took umbrage to that because they felt that it should be more masculine and more punch in the face, ask questions later. Yeah, I could understand why, more so than the Tila thing, why people might feel like that. But again, it's a film that doesn't take itself too seriously. And I think the group hug HR mentality blends itself quite well into the film and makes it funny in that respect as well. So I think that is a good element, and that is something that I think can be forgiven because that is the identity of the film. The jokes and the humour, that's an interesting one, because there are a lot, and I mean a lot of jokes and a lot of humour that are woven into the DNA of the film. Some things land very well, I'll come to that in a minute, and some things don't. And yes, there is quite a lot of humour layered on humour layered on humour. But I look at it in a comparison. I look at it when I compare this to Thor Love and Thunder. Thor Love and Thunder was a god-awful film. It was god-awful for so many different reasons, but one of the primary reasons was they turned a really serious character in Thor, who you saw in the previous Marvel movies, and tried to make him comic relief for the storyline. And there was this continuous joke upon joke upon joke upon joke, and they were really bad jokes as well. To the point, I remember during that film once when I was actually nearly speaking out loud saying, please stop. I've had enough. I don't need another joke. Especially when they had a whole cancer storyline with Jane going on at the same time. It just made those jokes just bad. Badly landed, badly thought out. And it was just, yeah, it wasn't good. Whereas this film sets itself out from the start to not take itself too seriously. And so the humour and the jokes tended to land better because it was a fresh cast of characters, it was a fresh storyline, and it didn't just take itself too seriously, and the plot and the storyline and the characters all revolved around that humour as well. So yes, I'll agree that there was a lot of humour in it, that some of it wasn't needed, but in the context of what they were delivering, it worked really well. But I think the best humour, and I've saved this to last, the best humour was for Skeletor. Because I went into this film not knowing really what it was going to be about. Obviously, it was with Masters of the Universe, it was He-Man, it was Skeletor. I was worried that it was not going to be faithful, and my worries were unfounded. Because Skeletor, I think from the first scene he had, portrayed the humour that you got from Skeletor in the cartoon. And Jared Leto played that absolutely amazing. Seriously, if you haven't gone and seen it yet, go and see it just for Skeletor, because Skeletor is the purest reproduction of what we got in the cartoon on the live action screen. He was that good. And that is an example of where the humor worked really well, because Skeletor was just Skeletor and it was absolutely brilliant. Probably the one criticism I have personally for the film, and nothing's ever perfect, so I will talk about it very briefly, is the length. I thought the length of the film was long. It didn't need to be that long, but it didn't drag, if that makes sense. Some films are very long and they drag. Fantastic Four was like that. It dragged in the middle and it's like, oh, I just really don't want to see any more of this. This one didn't feel like that, but it felt like it could have been a bit tighter. Now, I understand that Travis Knight has got a director's version of this film, and actually it's longer and there's more bits with more characters in it, and I'll be really cool to see that. But in terms of the one you saw in the cinema, yeah, it could have been a bit shorter. They could have shortened the time on Earth a little bit. I don't really know how they could do it slightly different, but they could have shortened down that element and had more on Eternia afterwards. That's my minor criticism, my minor kind of thing. The only other bit reservation, and I can't really work out whether I like it or I don't like it, is how the characters got their names. So we're never going to get a serious live action He-Man. It was never going to happen. But all the characters, so Skeletor had his name, Evil Lynn had her name, Tila had her name, Man at Arms Duncan had his name, but the rest of the characters were all kind of given names. Spoilers, had all were given their names by Adam himself as a child. So he named the people based on his childhood recollection. So Ram Man, Fisto, there's a running joke about that. Moss Man was given his name by Skeletor. You didn't actually get the real characters' real first names and stuff like that. They were kind of given those nicknames by Adam himself, including the He-Man name at the end was given to him by himself. And I don't know how I feel about that. I would like to have seen this film as it is, with just the names as the names, with no jokes, no nothing, just they were given those names and that's what we learn to accept. And there's no doesn't need to be an explanation of why Fisto is called Fisto or Mechanic is called Mechanic. It should have just happened. So that's my only other criticism. I can see what they were trying to do, but I don't know whether I like it. Now, if you haven't gone and seen the film, go and see it, is my first recommendation. But also there are 3 after credits scenes you need to see. First one, second one, third one. First one, I'll say spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. So, first one has Orko in it. Orko is not in the main film, but he pops at the end with the classic He-Man. What did we see in this episode? Kind of public service announcement, which I thought was really good. Second one will hold. Third one, right at the end of the credits, is obviously Skeletor's been defeated and Evil Lynn picks up his skull and you hear the distinct Skeletor laugh, hinting that he's coming back in a sequel. Please let there be a sequel. But the one in the middle is the best. The one in the middle had me actually whooping. Whooping in the cinema. I was like, yes! Because it was a very quick scene by the Fright Zone. Hordak's base, you see the arrival of the transformation of She-Ra, and it's like, yes, they're actually going to go and do it. If they're going to do a sequel, and the director's already said it, She-Ra is going to play a massive role in that, and I thought that was a brilliant, nice little touch they threw in the credit scenes. Yes! So there we are. There is my views on Master of the Universe, He-Man movie. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below if you've seen the movie, what you thought of it. Do we think we're going to get a sequel? I would love to get a sequel for this film. I really would. I really hope Amazon pull the trigger on it. And I really hope they give Travis Knight the directorial duty again. Because if you listen to the interviews with him, he gets it. He understands the cartoon. He understands the canon. He understands the mission. And I think in this day and age, this director got it exactly right, which is really hard to do. So 100% full credit to him for that. Overall, my star rating for this was 5 out of 5. It was brilliant. Absolutely perfect. And yeah, I'm still smiling. I'm still buzzing about it. It is in my top 10 favourite films of all time. I'll be back soon with more nostalgia-related goodness. Until next time, cheerio for now. Bye-bye.